Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7. I am back with a new guide to try and help you earn 2 million credits as quickly and as easily as we can. So the new combination is at Brands Hatch in the Genesis road car. Not particularly a favourite combination of mine, road car plus four-wheel drive, but I do love Brands Hatch. It's a really enjoyable track. And this car is actually quite enjoyable to drive here once you get used to the handling. Now this car is not an easy car to drive. I think some of you might have a bit of a hard time with the way this rotates into corners, but once you get used to that rotation, hopefully at least you can try and get the silver, and I think a lot of you will be able to get that gold time as well, because there is quite a lot of time available for the gold between the top time and the time you need to get the gold. So to get this time trial, you go into sport mode and you are going to go into the online time trial section, and you can see you've got two separate ones. Watkins Glen is already there. This is the new one at Brands Hatch. You can see the current top time 39.4 and you need a 42.4. So I reckon if you can get into the 41s, you should be pretty safe, because I think that lap has already been quite aggressively pushed. So if you can try and get a 41.7 or 41.8, I think that would be good enough for the gold at the end. I've managed to get into the top 10, so if you do want to use my lap as a guide to chase in with a ghost, you can download it from within the game. So do that. Now remember, if you do enjoy these videos, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, let me know in the comments if it helps you out, and let's get on with this guide going into turn 1. So for turn 1, we are looking for the number 2 board straight away. So in front of me there you can see number 2 board on the left. Now we are going to brake pretty much dead on that number 2 board. So as we play it, you can see on the brakes kind of level with the 2 board. Now this corner you have to be very careful. Staying in 5th gear, you can see I'm putting a bit of acceleration in whilst I'm braking. This is to stabilize the car, to stop it sliding into this corner. So you can see once we go down to 4th gear, here comes the slide, putting a bit more throttle in, and we managed to get that timed quite well to keep that throttle going in with the rear sliding and just about keep it on the track on the exit there. Now for this next braking zone, we're using the shadow or the overhead bridge above you there. You can use either of them as your reference, and we're braking just before that down to 3rd gear and trying to keep this car very narrow to the apex. I always like taking a tight line into this apex, not letting it go too far out. So you can see almost running the curb and then back onto the throttle nice and early. Remember, you're in a 4-wheel drive car, a lot of traction, but it will understeer if you're a little bit too early, so just bear that in mind. Now into the next braking zone, you've got the number 1 board on the right hand side, which you can use as a reference there, and also the start of the curb if you want to use that. But the number 1 board is pretty much dead on where you're going to brake, just fractionally short of that. Now again, be careful of that slide through this corner onto the throttle super early in this corner. You really want to use the full track width on exit there. You can see up onto the side bit there, and now into the next braking zone. Again, number 1 board on the right hand side, braking just short of that number 1 board. And again, you're going to want to put a bit of throttle and accelerate brake in at the same time here. So again, you can see it, throttle inputs going in here just to stop that car over rotating, and then once it does start rotating, we can get onto that throttle again and try and keep that left hand tire very close to the curb on the left. So yeah, the way this rotates this car, it is going to catch people out, but it will take you a bit of time to get used to. I think when most people are used to it, you will be able to get this gold time and hopefully get them 2 million credits. So now into the next braking zone, we're going flat out here. Now one thing with this car is make sure you don't over rev it, about 60-70% shift, and as you come into the number 2 board there, you can see we're going to brake just a fraction past that. So just past that number 2 board, we're getting onto the brakes and we're going to try and carry the speed through this corner. So staying in 5th gear, then down to 4th gear, let that car rotate, and then back onto the throttle when that car is up onto the curb, and try and carry the speed all the way on the exit. Use some of the curb if you need to on the left. And now into this next braking zone again, we're going to brake in between the 2 and the 1 board, pretty much right in the middle there. You can see the braking inputs going in, and again, this you want to rotate from as wide an angle as possible. So using the full track, get that right hand tire up onto the curb. You can use that little bit of extra curb on the right there, and you really want to get on the throttle as soon as you can. As soon as we're off that curb, onto the throttle. You see that straight away onto that throttle to carry the speed all the way down into this very tricky section. This section is where I probably lose a lot of time. So using them 2 little markers there as a reference for your braking, you can see just as we're pretty much level with them, we're going onto the brakes and we're going to go into this corner as fast as we dare, to be honest. This is a tricky one. Again, using a bit of throttle and brake at the same time. Up onto the curb, you can really attack this corner. You can get away with quite a lot of track limits. Just be careful you don't go too much, because you will get a penalty. And then back on the throttle to stop the car going too far wide. You can see gradually putting the throttle in. Now the top time, I'm baffled how he didn't get dirty tyres or a penalty because he's all the way off the track. We keep our right-hand tyres on the white line, but yeah, he was completely off and doesn't get dirty tyres. I've no idea how that happens. So onto the brakes again before the one board. Now be careful into this corner. You want to get it slowed down quite early so you can get back onto that throttle and carry the speed out this exit. It's so important to get exit speed off of that corner. You can see we get pretty decent exit speed. Nice short shift up to 4th gear. Now we're not going to go into 5th gear here because we're going to go into a braking zone, and you can see they're braking just before that one board. Now always use the one board as a reference, but I'm braking quite a bit short of it because this car has a lack of downforce and it's a road car, so you're going to have to brake that a little bit earlier. Now this final corner, getting it up onto the curb, I'm just being patient on the throttle before you plant it down. I could have gone more aggressive than I did there. I've probably lost a tenth or two because I didn't get down on the throttle early enough, but short shifting into 5th as usual and over the line for a 39.937. So remember, with this car, ensure you are short shifting. Again, you can see there 60-70% shift up into 5th gear, and we'll see this rotation on this car now. So into turn 1. Now watch this as it starts to rotate. You've got to get on that throttle and try and get it to snap onto the curb so that you can carry the speed all the way up into this next braking zone. Again, onto that brakes before the shadow, and you can see how I keep a very narrow line into that corner. I do that pretty much in every car. It's just the way I do that corner. You might prefer going a little bit deeper, squaring it off and getting on that throttle. Again, this left-hand corner, all about attacking that apex, using the full width for the track, and then into this next braking zone. You can see that braking and accelerating going in together here. That's to stop the car sliding too much, and you can see if you do that, it keeps the car nice and smooth, and it gives you much better speed and exit speed off that corner. So try and get used to putting a bit of throttle in with a bit of brake to just stabilize that car, like we've done in the Porsche in the past, and the Ferrari and other cars like that in Group 3. It's a very similar technique. So into this really fast right hand corner, again letting the car slide, getting it up onto the curb, and then back on the throttle to carry the speed out the exit as much as possible. This right hander is all about carrying the speed through the apex and getting the exit speed. You really have to be aggressive on that. Use the curb, carry the speed on the exit. Now this is tricky. Like I say, you saw what P1 did. I don't know how he managed that, but my right hand tyre stays within the white line. I'm baffled how he does that and doesn't get a penalty, and also doesn't get dirty tyres. Confusing, but yeah, it must be possible, but it's too risky for me to do that. I wouldn't want to blow a lap if I was on a good lap. So into that final corner, you can see again sliding in onto the throttle. You can see I had plenty of space on the left there. That says to me that I've not pushed it enough there. Probably could have been a little bit more aggressive and gained at least a tenth or two, but I'll take a 39.9 in this car. It's not my favorite type of car, and hopefully this guide will help you get them 2 million credits as easy as possible. And remember, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comment section if it's helped you out. We'll be back with these guides every single week when a new one is launched. Take care, everyone.